Good morning. I'm Carmen Rodríguez-Peralta, Director of the World of Music Concert Series and pianist for this program. I'd like to welcome you to this Literature Through Music event, which forms part of the 2023 Lowell City of Learning Festival. We'll be featuring a variety of music from the Renaissance until today, all inspired in some way by literature. I want to thank my colleagues from various departments who are participating in this event. So please join me in welcoming the first two performers, Fridley and Raley Beggs.
So before we begin, I just want to say a few words about what the two pieces you're about to hear are. They come from the late 1500s in France, and most of the music that is printed from this time is printed in choir book form. So it looks like it would be sung by a choir, 4 to 6 parts, all kind of singing the same text at the same time. But what we know about this is that this was frequently performed as solo repertoire, generally accompanied by a lute, and we frequently think of this as being sung by sopranos or tenors. This is largely due to Dowland, frequently being sung by sopranos and tenors, and accompanied by lute. But at the time, the highest paid court singer in France was a bass. So I thought to myself when I was doing my doctoral studies, why is that? And I discovered a lot of evidence that he also sang things like this as solo repertoire. Well, when you're a bass singing solo repertoire, you're not going to be singing the soprano line as a soprano or a tenor would. That seems fairly self-explanatory. And I did find surviving evidence that there was a duet between him and his wife. The poetry is in dialogue, which is common back in that time. Love duets for poems. And when he's singing, when the male perspective is taking the poetry, it looks like a bass line. And when his wife is singing and the female perspective is in the poem, it's a soprano line. And extrapolating from that, and owing to the fact that the bass before him he moved to Italy and then was fired from his job for ornamenting too much. I kind of constructed with ornamentation practices of the time these kind of virtuosic vehicles that could potentially serve as a reason for why this bass was the highest paid singer in the court. Now, I would have been, in the world in which I am de Beaulieu, I would be playing bass viol, and my wife would be playing lute. I have neither a wife, a lute, or a bass viol, and cannot self-accompany. So, we instead have Raley.
Right. Happily fill them. So, I don't have a lute or a gamba, and I'm going to do this all on guitar. Lute is a very, very, very close, we could call it the grandfather of guitar, so it's really not that big of a jump for me. This is scored for viola da gamba, which is kind of a grandfather of cello. It's a fretted, bowed instrument, so I'm kind of doing both. Doing my best to do both. I'm going to try to emphasize as much as I can the bass voice of the gamba would play, and then some flourishes with the lute would play, but just on guitar.
I believe we have the poems.
This poetry by Philippe Desportes. Hélas. Hélas, que me faut-il faire pour adoucir la rigueur d'un tyran, d'un adversaire, qui tient fort dedans mon cœur? Il me brûle, il me saccage, il me perce en 1000 parts, et puis me donne au pillage de 1000 inhumains soldats. L'un se loge en ma poitrine, l'autre me suce le sang, et l'autre qui se mutine de traits me pique le flanc. Tous les moyens que j'essaye, au lieu de me profiter, ne font qu'en aigrir ma plaie et ses cruelles irrités. Mais ce qui me réconforte en ce douloureux espoir, c'est que le mal que je porte lui est commun, comme à moi. Blessé. Blessé d'une plaie inhumaine, loin de tout espoir de secours, je m'avance à ma mort prochaine, plus chargée d'ennui que de jour. Celle qui me brûle prend sa glace, mon doux fiel, mon mal et mon bien, voyant ma mort peinte en ma face. Fin, hélas, n'y connaissent rien. Comme un roc à l'onde marine, elle est dure au flot de mes pleurs. Et clos de peur d'être bénigne, l'oreille au son de mes douleurs. Las, que ne puis-je distraire, connaissant mon mal de la voix, au ciel rigoureux et contraire, c'est toi qui contrains mon vouloir. Ainsi, le désir qui m'affole, trompé d'un rayon gracieux, fait hélas qu'aveugle je vole au feu meurtrier de vos beaux yeux.
Hélas, que me faut-il faire pour adoucir la rigueur d'un tyran, d'un adversaire qui tient fort des dans mon cœur, d'un tyran, d'un adversaire qui tient fort des dans mon cœur. Il me brûle, il me saccage, il me perce en mille passes, et puis me donne au village de mille Achimes soldats, et puis me donne au village de mille Achimes soldats. L'un se longe à ma poitrine, l'autre me suce le sang, et l'autre que se mutine te traîne piquer le flanc, et l'autre qui se mutine te traîne piquer le flanc. Tous les moyens que je sais, au lieu de me profiter, ne font qu'aigrir ma plaie, et s'écrier irrité, ne font qu'aigrir ma plaie, et s'écrier irrité. Mais ce qui me réconforte en ce douloureux émoi, c'est le mal que je porte, lui est commune comme à moi. C'est le mal que je porte, lui est commune comme à moi. Blessé d'une plaie infirme, loin de tout espoir de secours, je m'amance à ma mort prochaine, plus chargé d'ennui que de jour, plus bassa glace, modo siemo male monia, vueam d'amor ama face. Fetelas ni convetrien, fetelas ni convetrien. Come roc al rod marine, et tires au flot de medler, et Claude peut-être venine. L'oreille son de mes douleurs, l'oreille son de mes douleurs. Las que ne puis-je y traire, connaissant mal l'avouer. Ô ciel rigoureux et contraire, c'est toi qui comprends mon vouloir, c'est toi qui comprends mon vouloir. Ainsi désir qui m'affole, trompe d'un rayon gracieux, fait hélas qu'aveugle je vole. Oh, je regrette vos yeux, pauvre meurtrier de vos yeux.
The next selections are from a Schubert set called Schwanengesang, or Swan Song. It's not actually a cycle, though Schubert is very famous for Winterreise, other song cycles, but this is a set of poems set to music that was published posthumously. So Schubert had passed away, and these, fortunately, were still published. I think they are some great selections. Since they're not a cycle, I have plucked from them without regard to the order or the contents, but I've kind of constructed a narrative of love and loss as the narrator responds to that and goes on a little bit of an emotional journey. One of the things that makes Schubert's poems so interesting when he sets them to music is that instead of simply an accompanimental feature, the piano plays a role in the drama. This is most evident in the third selection that we have today, Der Atlas, where you get the immensity of the world and the weight of burdens in the piano part. But Schubert is very famous for this in many, many of his pieces, and you can get elements of it with the characterization in the other songs as well.
We have the German reader.
Ständchen von Ludwig Walschau. Leise flehen meine Lieder durch die Nacht zu dir. In den stillen Hähn hernieder. Liebchen, komm zu mir. Flüstern, schlanke Wipfel, rauschen in des Mondes Licht. Des Verräters feindlich lauschen, fürchte, heute nicht. Hörst die Nachtigallen schlagen, ah, sie flehen dich. Mit der Töne süßen Klagen flehen sie für mich. Sie verstehen das Busensehnen, kennen Liebesschmerz, rühren mit den Silbertönen jedes weiche Herz. Lass auch dir die Brust bewegen, Liebchen, höre mich. Bebend harr ich dir entgegen, komm, beglücke mich. Ihr Bild von Heinrich Heine. Ich stand in dunklen Träumen und starrt ihr Bildnis an. Und das geliebte Antlitz heimlich zu leben begann. Um ihre Lippen zog sich ein Lächeln wunderbar, und wie von Wehmutstränen erglänzte ihr Augenpaar. Auch meine Tränen flossen mir von den Wangen herab, und ach, ich kann es nicht glauben, dass ich dich verloren habe. Der Atlas von Heinrich Heine. Ich, unglückseliger Atlas, eine Welt, die ganze Welt der Schmerzen muss ich tragen. Ich trage Unerträgliches und brechend will mir das Herz im Leibe. Du, stolzes Herz, du hast es ja gewollt. Du wolltest glücklich sein, unendlich glücklich. Oder unendlich elend, stolzes Herz. Und jetzt so bist du elend.
Leise fliehen meine Liebe.
Examples of poetry set to music where there is a text which is sung. In these next pieces, there's no narrator, there's no singer. The meaning of the word is conveyed solely through the sound of the piano. And the composer of the next piece is Vincent Persichetti. He was a very famous American composer from the 20th century. Also a wonderful teacher and pianist. And I had the great privilege of being his teaching assistant when I was at Juilliard. He was fascinated by American poetry, and throughout his life, he wrote numerous short poems for piano, which were settings of one line of poem. So he wasn't concerned with the meaning of the overall poem, he was just setting that particular line. And I've chosen 3 short poems to play for you. The first is called Unroll the Flicker's Rousing Drum. And as you would expect, it opens quite dramatically, like a march. It's very loud. There are some dissonant sections, so kind of harsh-sounding harmonies. And the tempo indication is allegro marziale, which means fast with a kind of martial or military feel. Yet there are surprises. The steady rhythm is interrupted. There's changing meter. There's syncopation. There's some very quiet spots. Because I don't know if you know, a flicker is a type of bird. and a flicker madly hammers on wood, on pipes, and sometimes it sounds like a whole percussion section, and then sometimes it gets quiet. So this poem really depicts this kind of martial quality along with some surprises. The second poem is Dust in Sunlight and Memory in Corners. This is a very beautiful, very evocative, has some very nice jazzy chords, and definitely uses the piano as a singing instrument, unlike the first piece, which had it as a percussion instrument. The last short poem, Whose Thin Fraud I Wink at Privily. And this is a very humorous sounding piece, lots of syncopation, some small outbursts, and because the music is describing a thin fraud, so a small misdeed, it's okay for people to smile and wink up. I hope you enjoy these 3 poems by Vincent Persiquet.
was actually here. It was written by Lowell composer Paul Marion, and is based on the old mills, as you probably can read, right? Which are, a staple of, Lowell's culture, right? Even up to today, I would say. And it was written by a faculty member, Pamela Marshall, and it was again premiered in Lowell, written in Lowell, and performed for the first time in Lowell, and it really embodies the idea of the hardworking people that build this city. I think the only thing left is to actually hear the poem.
Green Windows from What is the City by Paul Marion. Green windows in the red brick mills, green syllables in a red sentence, green lights on a dark street, green mouse in the open air, green eyes all in a row. Windows tinted green from handprints of loom fixers, bobbin boys, mill girls. Ex-farmers who walked to work and bent by the roadside to rip out a fistful of grass. And the same hands wiped dust off mill windows to make a view, smearing green ink onto glass, leaving a trace that built up. Green signs painted by country folk who entered factories to make a living wage, who enlisted in the industrial army, who changed old ways to earn meal money, who left poor soil for dependable machines, who took inside jobs but left handprints, so somebody might imagine the windows green for the grassy dreams behind them.
Windows in the red brick mills, green syllables in a red sentence. Green lights on a dark street, green mouths in the open air, green eyes all windows tinted green from handprints of loom fixers, bobbin boys, mill girls. Ex-farmers who walked to work and bent by the roadside to rip out a fistful
Mexico City, and he received his master's and doctorate in composition from Juilliard in New York City. He's an acclaimed and prolific composer, and he amazingly teaches at two institutions. He's on the faculty at Juilliard in New York and Vanderbilt University in Nashville. He wrote Suite de la Mancha in 2016. There are 4 movements to the piece. Each describes a character from the novel Don Quixote, written by Miguel de Cervantes in the early 1600s. So the word La Mancha refers to the region in central Spain where the novel took place. The main character in the novel Don Quixote is extremely idealistic and unrealistic. The composer Samuel set the characters, described the characters in the way that Don Quixote would have perceived them. So we're playing the last 2 movements, Dulcinea and Rocinante. In the novel, Dulcinea is a peasant woman, probably not all that attractive. But Don Quixote imagines her as this beautiful damsel, his idealized love. Therefore, the music is very, very lovely, and long flowing melodies. Each of us gets this gorgeous tune we get to play. So the music really is showing this idealized version of Dulcinea. The next one you'll hear of Rocinante, which was Don Quixote's horse. The horse was a workhorse. The horse had all kinds of physical ailments, could barely move. But Don Quixote perceived this horse as young and vigorous, so the music is very fast-paced and very exciting. So I hope you enjoy Dulcinea and Rocinante from Suite de la Mancha by Samuel. clarinetist and composer, of course, and she teaches at the University of Montevallo in Alabama. She wrote this very charming set called Twitcher in 2020. There are 4 short movements. Each is set to a poem by Ogden Nash that describes a bird. So the music describes the sounds, the personality, and the movement of the bird. I should let you know that the word twitcher, which is the title, is another word for bird watcher. Enjoy.
Masculine turkey. When he struts with no ifs or buts. When his face is apoplectic, his harem grows hectic. And when he gobbles, their universe wobbles.
fan of jazz and love live improvisational jazz, and love to play between musicians and the way that one will take off with a solo while the others support that solo and listen and appreciate. And there's a playful competition as it gets thrown to another musician who takes off and bends and explores those notes while the others kind of sit back and appreciate. And I loved that play and was interested to capture that somehow for years. And I was driving on Route 1 North one summer night, listening to WGBH's Eric in the Evening Jazz program. And the opening lines to this poem and idea for this came to me. And I pulled over to a gas station and ran in, and the only thing they had was some old gas slips from a long time ago for those of us old enough to know. And so the beginnings of this poem are scribbled on gas slips somewhere in a file at home. And I'm honored to have Todd Brunel playing clarinet, and I played clarinet as a child, so that's wonderful to have that pairing. Thank you. Dancing boy, dancing girl, and a boy again, tiptoeing on the wooden raft, circling as it sways. He circles and it sways in the stillness of the creek, around and to the diving board, where he rattles and thumps and springs, twirling, floating up and out, and curving down to slice, then splash, then explode up and out, splashing, shouting, laughing at the moon, swirling in the hot summer dusk, thrashing and kicking with smiling wetness before climbing the ladder to sit back, smile, and watch to see the girl tiptoe on the swaying dock, circle, no, not circle, almost circle to the edge, then almost circle again, as the creek stills, ripples slightly, anticipation. Her footsteps pat the dampened wood. She finds the worn wooden board, bobs up, rattles, and slaps, running to take that board, bending, springing as part of her, part of the swing of her arms soaring upward, the slow, subtle arc and twist of her naked shoulders outward, twirling, floating, flying outward and down, slicing unexpectedly, swallowing her reflection, toes pointing to the last, the aching, unruffling pause before, exploding up, smiling, laughing to herself, to the raft, to that hot moon dusky August day. And she turns, splashing, suddenly racing toward the reaching branched shore tree. The boy now unfolds his sitting to sprint, thumping and springing out quickly over creek water, spraying strokes, pushing in pursuit of the laughing hare, reaching toward the rooted wild grass bank. She grabs the knotted rope, past the thick trunk, up the dirt path to pausing, deep breaths jump, holding, hanging, swishing beyond trunk and path, whistling wildly over grassy bank, then water, then over the boy, half out of the creek, caught in a broadening smile of awe and appreciation, watching the arcing girl as she sails, then dances on her smooth watered reflection.